Morning, YouTube. This is Louisiana Woodsman. Taking a break from hunting this weekend. It's my wife's birthday, so I've been cooking last night, and I'm cooking her breakfast this morning. Taking a little break from the woods. That's all right anyway. You don't want to get too burnt out in the beginning of the season. So I'm going to show you guys just biscuits and gravy that I cook. My dad taught me this recipe, and man, I haven't found anyone that doesn't like it yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and brown up all of my breakfast sausage and then start showing you everything. I don't want to make the video too long. All right, started browning all my meat. As you can see, there's enough fat in there to sustain because of the help a little bit of butter. So regular breakfast sausage, you don't need to put anything in there. It has plenty of fat all on its own. And if you're using deer meat, like homemade breakfast sausage, you can just go ahead and add you some butter and do the same thing, or bacon grease if you got it. This recipe that I'm doing is also 2 pounds of the breakfast sausage. So if you buy breakfast sausage, I recommend either doing Jimmy Dean's hot or Tennessee Pride, I believe it is. The other ingredient in this recipe, eggs. For this size gravy that I'm going to be doing, I recommend anywhere from 6 to 10 eggs. I'm going to do 10 eggs because that's, I don't know, it seems to thicken it up a good bit and gives you some more substance in that gravy. But what we're going to do is we're going to boil these for about, I don't know, 8 minutes. When they're done, let them cool, peel them, and then you dice up the whole egg together, the egg white and the egg yolk. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with them in that gravy. Next step, after you have all this meat fully browned, you're going to need some all-purpose flour and a good sized spoon. So what you're going to do is all the grease or butter, whatever you have in there, after it's all at the bottom, after your meat is all brown, what you're going to do is you're going to start adding all-purpose flour. We're going to start with that much, and we're going to mix that in. It's going to soak up all that grease. It's going to get it dry, and it's going to start darkening that meat. It's going to start sticking to the meat. And you add this flour until the meat is dry, or it appears dry. And we want to make sure all that meat is busted up real good, because this is the size of it that you're going to be getting on a spoon or a fork over a biscuit. So it's still a little bit wet. So we're going to add another spoon. So that's for the most part dry, but you're not going to hurt anything by adding a little bit more. We're just going to make sure. That was about a half a spoon. So at this point, it is in some way almost making a roux, but not quite. We are using the grease or the oil from your meat and soaking it up and starting to slightly brown it or burn it a little bit. But this next step is going to actually start making our gravy. So that's good and dry right there. Next step, 2% milk. You take that, There's no specific measurement. I just start filling in like that. I don't know, that might be about a half inch of milk in the bottom of that pan, and you start mixing it. And obviously, I want a lot more gravy than that because this is going to reduce down. It's going to start evaporating that water out of there. So, but you can see already it's getting thicker just because that flour is starting to do its magic. There we go. Mix that up. And you could add seasoning to this. I would not add seasoning until the end, though, when you're almost at the finished product and you can taste test, because whatever seasoning you use to season your sausage or your store bought sausage may have done all of the seasoning you need. And we're going to let that kind of simmer. So we're just going to go ahead and butter this pan the lazy way. And since we got our water boiling right now, I'm going to go ahead and put all my eggs in there. New pro tip: I recommend lowering your egg into the pot instead of dropping it into the water, because now I have a busted egg that's boiling in there. I just went ahead and gave our gravy a little bit of a stir. Probably don't have to. I just do it to be safe so nothing sticks to the bottom. But look right here. We're going to go ahead and put all our biscuits on this pan here. So stubborn can. There it went. And you don't have to do big biscuits or small biscuits. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as they're plain old biscuits, no flavoring. That ought to be enough biscuits for just 2 people. All right, we're waiting on this gravy to come back to a slow boil, just barely bubbling. Right now, it's almost there. It's steaming, so it's getting close. But all that cold milk really cooled off the sausage, so that's what we're waiting on. I also wanted to take a second to acknowledge some of the comments I'd gotten on some of my recent hunting videos. I appreciate all of them, and it's really given me some ideas to come up with some more videos. When I get back out in the woods, I'm going to start addressing some of these questions. One of the questions I had was, how do you shoot a crossbow from a saddle? It seems like it would be very unsteady. I'm going to make a video on that, but just, cliff notes. If I'm saddled up to that tree and my bridge is like this, coming up right here, and my shot is on my good side on my left, I'll put my right arm, my trigger finger, around this right side of my bridge and back over top of the left side of my bridge. And that will interlock this arm. And I've got some pretty good motion going on right here. Now, if the shot is behind me, I can't do that, so I do have to freehand. But I used to be in shooting sports, and I did BB gun and shotgun in 4-H. So one of the ways that I kind of learned to shoot free-handed is it doesn't have to look pretty. That's what one of my coaches told me. So in BB gun, for free-handed, I wasn't too bad. But man, if you really lock that elbow against your stomach and prop up against yourself right here and hold on to the bottom of your rifle, crossbow, whatever, you can really steady your shot quite a bit. So if I'm got to slide through in my bridge, I can do that in freehand behind me. And if it's on my offside, I'll slide through my bridge and come over to this right side of the tree. And then at that point, you can interlock your left arm again through your bridge. And you can do, instead of your right arm, you can do your left arm through that bridge, same way, and stabilize yourself. And you don't have to tee off of that tree so much. You can slide right down into that tree and let your knees hit it, or heck, even slide through that saddle and let the side of your body hit on that tree. That tree is going to give you a lot of stability. But I also practice free-handed. I do that every time, and offhand shooting. So it's always important to be prepared for whatever situation you come up on, because it'd be ashamed if you have to pass up a deer or a hog in the woods because you can't pull off that shot. So practice for everything. I'd gotten another question from a gentleman that is just starting getting into hunting, and he hunts not far from where I live. And he said that he's wanting to get into big game and small game, but he wants to know what I look for on public land as far as spots, terrain features, things like that. In the area that he's in, there's almost no elevation change, and it's a very big challenge hunting in those woods because there's food everywhere and there's cover everywhere. I mean, the place I'm thinking of, there is red briar everywhere, which deer eat that, and there's acorn trees everywhere. White oaks, red oaks, pin oaks, they're all over the place. So it's very hard to get some defined movement in there. I've had it to where I'm walking in to places that I'm not even 200 yards away from the parking lot, and I'm bumping does, in broad daylight, 2 in the afternoon, and it's an area you would never think that a deer would be hanging out because of how close it is to the parking lot. But to them, it doesn't matter. They don't have rules. They just find food and cover, and they follow that wherever it takes them. So in that instance, I'm going to screen record on my phone on base map. I'm not going to zoom in or anything on public land. I'm going to find big chunks of private land and pretend that it's public. And I'll show you features in trees, like the treetops differences, openings, like clearings, hard tree lines, drainage ditches, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all those areas and what I would be interested in looking at. I hope this helps for right now, but I will be making a video on that stuff here. That's exactly what we want, and it's already starting to thicken up. You'll be able to see it. See that milk is starting to really thicken up for us, mixing with that flour and also evaporating the water out of it. All of that is working together. So we'll just keep mixing it, and you can stop now if you wanted to and eat it like this. For me, that gravy is too thin, too runny, so I want to make it thicker than this. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about when I'm finished, my finished product. I do like to add black pepper to this gravy. I know it doesn't sound very Cajun at all. This really isn't a Cajun recipe. If you ask anyone from around here if they've ever had this gravy, sorry, but this recipe is not really from around here. It's more of a northern thing, but it tastes really good. You're just gonna have to trust me on this. If you ask any old Cajun around here or anyone local, they probably have not heard of this or never had it, because this isn't your typical breakfast sausage gravy. Some people call it SOS gravy. That's like an old military style gravy. That's actually where this recipe originated from. Um, but my dad taught me it. He cooks it for us every Christmas day and Christmas morning. I remember having this quite a bit. It's one of my favorite things. I will say that this is really stick to your ribs food. There will be no hunting getting done after you eat this. Really, there won't be anything getting done after you eat this. Only naps and maybe trying to watch a football game if you can stay awake. All right, our eggs are done boiling. A little thing that I like to do to help me peel them easier is immediately start running cold water over them. And you just let that go for about a minute or so. That way it can help you peel those eggs faster instead of them being so hot you can't really do anything with them for a few minutes. So, and I find that it helps that shell break off and come out with a better boiled egg. See, check this out. I just peeled that first one. Let me get the focus. No peelings on that egg white. So that's what we want. Although it's not really going to matter much in here in a second. All right, we got all those eggs peeled. Came out real good after washing them off with that cold water. Let's go ahead and dice them up and throw them in. All right, so we got a pretty good little simmer going right here. Still getting thicker as we speak. That's those eggs. We boiled them up, diced them up. That's about the size you want right there. This is what we're gonna do. Bingo. Go ahead and mix that in there. And if you want to have a decently priced meal for a bunch of kids or something like that, or it's a work day at the camp, and you don't really want to worry about multiple meals for the day, man, you just cook this in the morning. I guarantee ain't no one saying they're hungry come lunchtime, maybe not even dinner. At dinner, they're going to eat salad probably. I mean, this stuff's so thick and heavy. I mean, this will fill anybody up, especially if you got a big eater, growing boys, something like that. That age where they just eat everything in sight, 12, 13 years old. Give them a bowl of this. That's a done deal. All right, this is about how thick we want it right here. At this point, I would do a taste test to see if you want some more salt, some more pepper, more seasoning of whatever kind you like. This is the consistency that I want though. Give it a taste test. I want some more black pepper in there. I like doing whole kernel black pepper because it seems to be a lot more potent than the pre-grinded stuff that you can buy. Nothing against it. I just like a strong black pepper flavor in my breakfast food. So we're going to mix that in there. So we can start to see that black pepper show up and pretty mixed in. Let's put some more in there. And we're going to put just a touch of pink salt in there. Not much. About like that. That was barely sprinkling out of that can. Pink salt's pretty strong. So we're going to mix that in, and I think we're going to call that pretty good. See, I also cooked a pretty good gumbo, and we're going to freeze half and refrigerate the other half. We're going to eat this for dinner a few nights this week and freeze it for another day. So what I've got in there is andouille sausage, tasso, and boneless, skinless chicken thighs. That comes out with, in my opinion, the best flavored gumbo there is. I like Nunu's as far as my meat market goes, but if I don't have time to go there, my next choice is going to be Savoy's andouille and tasso. If y'all want a recipe on that, I could do a video on that later. All right, our biscuits are done. So I went ahead and took me 3 biscuits since they're small. 3 biscuits, split them in half, and this is how I plate this food. I'll show you guys. Our gravy's done. So what you do here, I'm going to try to do this one-handed best I can. Take that gravy right over top of each biscuit. All right, and that's when I'm done plating. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to be some good stuff. I'm going to be full for probably the rest of the day. All right, well, that concludes the breakfast recipe. Thank you guys for watching. If y'all want to see anything else, I have more recipes or more questions about hunting equipment, let me know. Thank you guys for watching.